Welcome to the Humorism Evening Podcast, the official podcast of the Humorism newsletter. I'm your host, Seth Simons, author of the Humorism newsletter. I'm recording this episode, which is episode number 11, a little after 8 p.m. on Tuesday, August 4th. It will land in your device around 6 a.m. on Thursday, August 6th. I have a few things I want to discuss today, and I'm going to get right into them. Here's the first thing. It's a funny clip. It's a funny clip that I saw online the other day. It's old. It's an old funny clip from the early days of funny clips. Maybe you've seen it in the past. I hadn't. It's new to me. It's Norm Macdonald on Tom Green Live, Tom Green's old call-in show in what must have been 2006, because they are discussing the Laugh Factory set where Michael Richards self-canceled. We will now roll the clip.
Hey, did you see the
Self out
did you
there?
see the Kramer thing?
Oh, I did see that. We could look at that right now if we wanted to, but we don't have to
Makes
look
me
at that.
laugh.
Yeah, does that make you laugh when you see that? You've
Makes me laugh.
You've done stand up.
I know Michael Richards,
You do, okay.
and he's no racist. He's not a racist. And when you say something like that crazy, it can only be a joke. You know what I mean? He was out of his head element. He didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
But there's no way that a guy who's racist screams it at the top of his lungs. You know what I mean?
Well, certainly, I don't think he was anticipating the fact that a cell phone could have been putting this onto CNN as he was saying it. I think he was
right.
thinking,
He wouldn't do it on the Craig Ferguson show.
right.
That's Norm Macdonald and Tom Green in 2006, 20 years ago. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed seeing that. It made me laugh. I thought it was funny. A lot of people whom I like respect Norm Macdonald, and a lot of people whom I respect like Norm Macdonald, which is fine. He was a very funny comedian. He made some threatening remarks toward me on Twitter some years ago in defense of Shane Gillis, who had just been fired by SNL. He was upset by that. He was agitated, and he made some hostile remarks towards me. But that's all water under the bridge. It's all Gucci. And I enjoyed this clip because, some things just never change. And one thing that never changes is that it is utterly impossible for a comedian to be racist. It just cannot happen. It has never been a thing that could happen. If a comedian says a slur, well, they're not racist because they didn't mean it. No one who is actually racist would scream the N-word. They were making fun of people who would mean it, who would say the N-word and mean the N-word. And if a comedian doesn't use a slur, well, obviously they're not racist, because you can't have racism without slurs. Somebody just saying what they think about a racial group, that's not racist. That's just racial humor. Somebody doing a racist voice, that's not racist either, because again, they're just making fun of the actual racists. They're making fun of the real racists who are out there somewhere, being racist, and you can recognize them by the way they use slurs and by the way they say racist things and use racist voices. That's how you can tell that they are actually racist. But comedians, they're not racist. Just can't happen. It just simply has not ever happened. And speaking of racist comedians who aren't actually racist, I'm going to read you a post from the subreddit r/standup. It was posted a few days ago on Saturday, August 1st, and the title is Theo Von's surprise set at Comedy Mothership included a bit about racism that didn't seem to land. It is possible, of course, that the poster is fabricating what they say in this post. That's always a possibility. People do lie. They lie wholesale. They lie extensively. They lie for fun and for profit. But for the record, the Comedy Mothership's Instagram does at the very least confirm that Theo was at the club that night. He was at the club doing stand-up comedy, including a bit about racism. Not a racist bit, but a bit about racism. And now I will read the post. It's only a few paragraphs long. I'll read it to you now. I went to Comedy Mothership in Austin on July 31, 2026, expecting the lineup to include some right-leaning and controversial material. Theo Von made a surprise appearance and performed about 15 minutes of what he said was newer material. One bit started with him saying, "I don't mind racism. A little bit of racism is okay." He then used NASCAR as an example, saying that when the cars drive by, the sound resembles the N-word. and he repeatedly mimicked the sound to make the comparison. He followed that with a story about having a love-hate relationship with the N-word because his uncle would tickle him until he said it. The bit ended by circling back to the idea that racism isn't so bad. I've seen plenty of comedians push boundaries, and I wasn't expecting the set to be politically correct. But this bit felt different. It didn't seem like there was a clear punchline beyond repeating the premise. And from where I was sitting, it didn't get many laughs. I'm curious how others would interpret it, or whether anyone else who was there had the same impression. That's from the stand-up subreddit, not to be confused with the stand-up comedy subreddit. Different subreddits. I think this is what's going to happen. It's going to keep happening, is what's described here. It is the obvious next step of what's been happening in comedy and in society, which is the mainstreaming of just the most obvious, straight-up, explicit, anti-black racist speech. Theo, as I discussed on the newsletter some weeks, or indeed months ago, I believe it was, used the N-word at the Netflix Is a Joke Festival. Mike Tyson gave him permission to use the N-word, urged him to use the N-word. The audience applauded when he said the N-word. The Pandora's box is open. It's going to keep happening. He's going to keep saying it. And he'll find a sideways way into it, the way that's not actually saying the word. It's just sort of saying that the word exists. The way so many comedians aren't doing racist jokes. They're just doing jokes about how racism exists. And as he says that the word exists, he will simultaneously express the thought behind the joke, because it's impossible for Theo not to say the subtext, the real thing he thinks and wants to express, which is that racism isn't bad. A little racism is fine. And he'll do this. He'll keep doing this. And other comedians will say it's not actually racist. He's just joking about racism. He's making racial jokes about racism. There's nothing wrong with that. And then all of those other comedians will start saying the N-word too. It's going to happen. I'm not happy that it's going to happen. I don't want it to happen, but I think this is the next step. Speaking of all those other racist comedians, here is a clip from the latest episode of Kill Tony, recorded at the Comedy Mothership. What you're about to hear is Tony Hinchcliffe chatting with a comedian named Chen Wei. Chen is what's called a bucket pull. His name gets pulled out of a bucket, and he gets to perform a set in the hopes that the Kill Tony panel will like him and bestow fame and fortune upon him. After bucket pulls do their sets, Tony and whoever else is on the show that night basically just roast them. They just say mean things about them, and nice things. They often compliment their comedy, but it's also basically an opportunity for the panel to roast the up-and-coming comic, which is what's happening here. This clip will be about 40 seconds long. If you want to speed through it or skip through it or whatever you do when I play clips, up to you. And roll clip.
No.
You have like a race car bed?
What's up?
Do you have a race car bed?
I wish, dude.
Probably crash with damage, heavy bumper damage. Race car bed.
Oh, I wreck even my bed. How do I wreck my bed? We are such a bad driver. I wreck my bed. All right.
We're having too much fun here with you. I've been holding back my Asian impression. I was able to last 7.5 minutes. I'm a new man.
It's hard to express, I think, what an evil podcast this is. It's a really evil podcast. It's really, really evil. Doesn't do it. That just doesn't express it. You do sometimes, I think, have to hear it to understand what is actually happening in comedy right now, which is that this show, Kill Tony, very popular show, big show. It's on Netflix. It's moving to some other platforms soon, I think, but it's been on Netflix. And the club that hosts this show, Joe Rogan's Comedy Mothership, they are all providing a space for comedians to workshop their racism and their misogyny and their hatred and turn these into something commercial, something marketable, something they can take on the road and eventually put up at Madison Square Garden and Netflix and on their own TV shows. It is honestly shocking to me how naked some of it is and how no one seems to notice. It all flies totally under the radar of whatever the mainstream is today. I will give you an example. One of the bigger success stories of the Kill Tony crowd in the last couple years is a guy named Ari Matti. I've written about him in the newsletter before. He is an Estonian-born comedian who's toured all over. He's been on Netflix and Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn and Whitney Cummings. It sounds like I'm the host of a comedy show listing his credits before he comes up to do a set. He's been on all the podcasts, all of them. Here's a joke he performed on Kill Tony and clipped on his Instagram almost a year ago. This joke has been out in the wild almost a year. The clip I'm about to play will be about 3 minutes long. If you want to go on double speed or skip through it, I want to include the whole thing because I think it's important to preserve the applause and the laughter, and for the very simple point that I will make when it's over. Roll clip.
So, when are we getting these Waymos to kill the homeless at night? Robots are supposed to do the jobs we don't want to. I see them driving around all empty. They should get together in an HEB parking lot, fucking. Everybody picks one alley and you just fucking. Help us out, robots! Or if you want to be like vegan about it, fucking get a car full of them, drop them off in Houston, you know what I'm saying? Dude, I moved here a year ago. I used to be like, no, they're all human and snowflakes. Fuck you. Stop bleeding on my fucking pizza. Dude, the homeless in Austin, every time I see these motherfuckers, they're getting stronger and stronger. They're fucking getting D vitamin during the day, going through photosynthesis. They're fucking fasting, they're avoiding social media, they're cold plunging in Ladybird Lake. The homeless in Austin are doing everything Joe Rogan talks about. Thank you so much.
Wow.
That's it. That's the whole joke. He's saying that he wants homeless people to get murdered. He wants them murdered. He wants them dead. The guy has 500,000 followers. Netflix has featured him on its YouTube channel and its festival. This is where we are at right now. I'm going to do a rough pivot here. I'm going to do a sudden pivot to something else that I want to talk about. Something else that isn't quite related to the previous subjects, but ultimately it is actually related, I suppose. Anyways, this is less cooked of a thought. These are some less cooked thoughts that are about to come out because they pertain to something that just happened today. And maybe you won't want to hear about it. Maybe you're sick of hearing about the guy I'm about to talk about, who is Tim Dillon. And I'm not going to tell you. Here's what I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you about the podcast he put out a week ago, where he said that if the DSA wants Democrats to win, they need to stop trying to get Kamala to run. I'm not going to tell you about that. And I'm not going to talk about the other podcast he put out a few days ago, where talking about the migrant crisis in Spain, he says that the third world is invading the first world, and that's no good because they have bad cultures in the third world. They have bad cultures and they're unclean. What I'm going to talk about is an episode he put out today, Tuesday, August 4th, on his Patreon. What you need to know about Tim Dillon's posting habits, his cadence, his posting cadence, as we call it in the posting business, is that every Saturday he releases a public episode on YouTube, which is generally him in front of a green screen in a studio at a desk, monologuing about the events of the week. And then throughout the week, he puts out 1 or 2 paywalled episodes. Sometimes these are also just monologues of the same variety. And other times they are more casual conversations with other comedians and friends. Often his friend Ray Kump, another comedian that's what happens in this episode, the episode we are about to discuss right now. It is also important that you know that while his Saturday episodes are usually very performative, he's doing a sort of Alex Jones or Tucker Carlson thing, not exactly a character, as Rami Youssef said on Vulture's Good One podcast recently, but just a heightened version of himself. He does exaggeration, hyperbole, he does irony, but he's also saying what he thinks, and it is pretty easy to tell what he thinks and where he is using various rhetorical flourishes. On the other hand, his casual conversations with friends are usually, as that word implies, much more casual. He's not really playing a character so much. He does bits, he does riffs, but he also just talks pretty normally. Which makes interesting what he says in the episode today, Tuesday, August 4th, which is that he believes there is a class of global elites who want to leave the planet and live forever, and that to do this, they are potentially trying to summon demons or aliens or interdimensional beings and give them the world, the planet Earth, and all the people in it in exchange for the ability to leave and live forever. You think I am misunderstanding him? You think he's joking and I'm misunderstanding him and I just don't get comedy, I don't get jokes. Well, you can have a listen for yourself. The context for the bit I'm about to play is that Tim and Ray Kump are talking about George Bush. They're discussing him as sort of the paradigmatic example of a ruling elite who gets narrativized in the cultural consciousness as a fun, dumb guy, even though they're actually something much darker and more insidious. The following clip is about 3 minutes long, if you would like to speed through it. Roll clip.
Knows what it is.
Yeah.
And here's what I mean by that. I even think some of them know even more than like just the 9/11 stuff. They might know they know
Right.
there's something going on that we're not talking about.
Well, look, I mean, I think they know. I think it's no coincidence that the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution kind of coincided. That this whole throwing off of the church, I know some of it's metaphorical.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think there is a legit, I think they've suppressed, I'm not trying to, it's not the Da Vinci Code or whatever.
Right.
But there is a certain level of like knowledge, like arcane knowledge that they fucking opened up in the 19th century.
That we don't know about.
Right. We know the results somewhat. Yeah, we've seen the fruits of the, but like my point is that we don't know the story around it. And they don't, the people who like are more of a legacy of like people who are in power then or influential, they don't know the whole story yet.
Correct.
But they know there's a story and they're trying to find the rest of it.
And I think that there's some people that do know a lot of the story.
Right.
And I think the suppressed knowledge, the energy sources that we probably could have that could give us free energy,
right?
Perhaps, and cures to diseases and whatever. And there is clearly a motive to keep us sick and dependent and stupid and at each other's throats and at war over nonsense. And there are people, I don't want to go into the secret and I don't want to sound like a nut, but there are people who understand that there's a system that a lot of people live in, and that system is very painful and it's incredibly, toxic in all ways, environmentally, culturally, economically.
Yeah.
And it is not an accident that we live in that. It is not happenstance. And it's not something that happened overnight. It's developed over a very long period of time. But it's developed because anyone who proposed something else was killed.
Yeah.
Well, it's just simple. I mean, anyone who proposed, from Martin Luther King to kind of JFK to Jesus, if you want to go back there, like anyone who kind of proposed something different than that was killed. Who doing that?
Right.
That, like,
why are they always so good at getting their guy?
Like I said, this is just normal conversation. He's speaking earnestly about what he thinks, about what he feels. And let me remind you here that this is a guy who has watched Alex Jones all his life. He loves Alex Jones. He's friends with Alex Jones. He watches Tucker Carlson. He's friends with Tucker Carlson. They have a thread, an iMessage thread, where they talk about immigrant crime in the UK. Tucker Carlson, by the way, also claims to believe in demons. Later in this episode, Tim says he was up late the previous night watching Bill O'Reilly. Who still watches Bill O'Reilly? Anyways, he's not exactly someone, I'm trying to say, who's getting his information from medical journals and the Financial Times. So he goes on for a while here. He goes on for a while talking about how there are people who have reached the highest echelons of society, the highest levels of their industries. They have money and power. They've been given access to secret knowledge. He quotes Andrew Tate, the sex trafficker Andrew Tate, in saying that these people have escaped the matrix. That's an Andrew Tate thing, that men have to escape the simulation that has brainwashed us into being obedient to the government and to win and all that. And Tim says that these people, the people who have escaped the matrix, the global elite, if you will, that's my phrasing. He doesn't say it, but that's my gloss on what he's talking about. He's saying that they've noticed the people are waking up. The sheep of the world are waking up now, thanks to technology. And the elites are realizing that this is a problem. They have to do away with the sheep. Tim says they're realizing that they sort of have to kill the sheep, or they have to leave the situation, leave the situation, rather, entirely. And here's what he says about that in a clip that is also about 3 minutes long. Roll clip.
But what I truly believe is that there's a group of people out there that want to leave the planet, and it doesn't mean any of this will happen. Right. It doesn't mean that it's going to be. So when I tell people this, they go, "Oh, that's not going to." I go, "It doesn't matter. They believe it.
Right?
They believe it."
Well, go on.
I believe there's a group of people that want to get off the planet. They want to become interplanetary.
Yeah.
They want to be able to jump to another dimension. They want to get out of here before things get not so good.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Go on.
No, we'll just be. I don't. It is very, very doesn't make sense.
By the way, what a great episode that we started this. This started with Burger King, but go on.
But it really, I don't want to dwell on how it doesn't make sense, but it doesn't really make sense. But it makes a lot more sense if what they're actually doing is trying to get into hell.
Well, yes,
and all this stuff is a cover for that.
Yes, dude, I'm getting chills because it actually feels
right. They're preparing to open the gate.
And I haven't eaten since that crab cake, but I believe you might be right. And so what I'm thinking is they are trying to summon some deity, some power, some ancient thing so that they can have the power to essentially, and in order to get that power, they've got to make some deal or whatever. And I think maybe they're like, hey, take Earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you basically, there's they have look, that's probably what it is on some level. Not to depress people, but there's a place where they meet and they have this gate. Some emissary will come through the gate and go, what is your offering? And they basically show Earth and they go, fine, you 15, 20, whatever.
Well, they know Earth. They know Earth. They know Earth.
Right. Well, we prepared Earth for you.
They know Earth. And I think there's part of that those entities that I'm potentially believe are, I don't want to say demons. I'm not trying to play to some right-wing base of nuts.
Yeah.
And I don't think demons are like your non-binary barista or whatever, although they can be annoying.
Equal opportunity demons.
I think that those entities, which could be aliens, truly, could be like interdimensional
from
creatures, for sure, reptilian, whatever.
Yeah.
They're well aware of what's going on here, and they're perhaps on some level contributing to what's going on here or feeding off the negative energy, fattening us up or whatever the case may be.
Maybe it's hell.
Yeah.
Maybe that we have to be fattened up with hate.
Well, that's maybe what's coming.
Right. We're being cold with hateful. We all hate each other now. And they go, now we can consume this hate. Fine, you get it. You can go to hell now.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see how this doesn't sound like a comedy bit? Maybe you think it does. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you think I'm crazy. Or maybe you've been thinking a thought that I've entertained too, which is that it's just a really good bit. a really committed bit by a pair of nihilists who don't actually believe anything, and maybe before they press record said to themselves, you know what would be funny is if we turn this camera on and do an hour-long podcast where 50 minutes in we start talking about how the rich are going to sell out the poor to demons. Maybe you think that. I've entertained the thought. Although I will also note here too that Tim Dillon is religious, or at least he claims to be religious, claims to be a believing Catholic. In any case, I will share, to dispel the possibility, the interpretation that we're discussing, the following section, which comes as Tim is arguing that in order to fight these elites, these global elites, to fight their plan to sell us all out to demons or interdimensional beings, we have to stop fighting about religion. We have to embrace the power of God. Here's what he says. This clip will be about 2.5 minutes. Roll clip.
No, but what I will say is, like, I do think I don't think this is like the gay people are the demons and the Ella Langley's fans are the good people. I don't think life is that.
Right. This is serious shit. That's like trivial shit.
That's trivial shit.
Yeah.
This is serious shit. And I do think there is innocence and light and beauty and love and sacrifice and all of these things. And on the other side of that is greed. There is lust. That is true. You have the gluttony. You have the things that separate you from the divine version of yourself, like the best version of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
And, all of that is real and those forces are real. And I think, and I'm very libertarian minded in like people's own journey, because people have to figure out who they are and what their problems are and how to fight and battle their demons and whatnot. But like, I do believe that you have something going on here where when you have boomers in Florida that are giddy, that a girl, I don't agree with the Iranian regime at all, but on any level about anything. But when you have boomers that are on a back deck of a Floridian bar listening to Margaritaville, giddy that a school of girls was blown up, is this not evil? You know what I mean? Like, truly, like, I'm just asking, like, I'm just going like, hey,
right.
Like, it's one thing even before this war, but the giddiness of like we were watching O'Reilly last night, late night, and 4 a.m. or something. We're sitting in the back of my house and watching old O'Reilly, and he's like, yeah, Howard Dean, who's a clown.
Right.
But he was like, Howard Dean's a big peace guy. And he said it so disparaging.
Well, the
he's
idea
like,
of peace.
He's like, Howard Dean's this big peace guy. And you go, I don't know. Is it not evil to torture people and to murder people?
Well, here's the thing.
And I mean, is this not evil?
Like you were just saying before, like, the devil loves nothing more in these things we're seeing, the subversion of things, and so like, and like the taking down the innocent, making the filing. There's no greater sign than we're a day before the end of the world, essentially.
Yeah.
Than like the most religious people.
Yeah.
Acting like Satan. The most we're Christians, and
right.
It's in the name of God, we're happy these people are dead.
Right. Yeah, that to me is very spooky, and I think it's very evil, to be honest. And I, at 40, I talk like this now. I didn't used to talk like this before, in the sense that, like, you would look at people and it was a little cornier to me back then,
right?
To think in these terms, because the people that speak like this are often goofballs,
right, and
hiding a million agendas.
And they always have these tones of voices that bug me.
Again, maybe you think I'm totally off here. Tell me if you think I'm totally off here. I would love to be totally off here. But I listened to all of this. I've listened to it several times now, and I hear a guy, famous guy, a guy who's been in movies and on Netflix, and who is fairly well connected in the entertainment industry and indeed in national politics. I hear a guy talking sincerely about what he thinks and what he feels. I don't hear a bit. I don't even really hear all that much hyperbole. I think this is Tim Dillon saying he thinks the global elite are trying to sell out the world poor to demons or to aliens or to interdimensional gagoos, and I think he means it. Which would be very funny if he was not literally friends with RFK Jr. All right, let's call it there. Thank you for listening. Do let me know what you think. Please share and subscribe and comment, and I'll see you next week. End of podcast.